Andrew's been the most consistent goalkeeper for me in the A-League for many, many years now, and he was always going to be part of this squad. But when you talk penalties, we've always had a conversation, or I've always told Arnie that if we go to penalties, Andrew would be a good option. So it was always flagged from a long time out. And as the the UAE game got closer, we had the plan in place for the UAE game, and obviously we had it in place for Peru as well. No one else knew about it except Andrew and the coaching staff, and we were confident that that plan was a good one going in. No emotion attached, no last minute decisions. We knew that Andrew had the temperament and I guess the skill set, I guess, to pull it off. So we were quite happy with that decision.
Yeah, I had to tell someone, so the missus knew.
Told your wife?
Yeah. And my mum knew as well. But I also told Joel King, and I swore him to secrecy. So he often spoke about it on the bus, and after the game he did say at extra time, and when he saw me start warming up behind the dugout, I think he was more nervous than me.
For some reason I didn't sleep 2 days before. I was thinking about this scenario and I was kind of a bit anxious. The night before the game I was fine, but 2 nights before I just kept thinking about that scenario. I don't know why. I think the only challenge for me was if my head was telling me that it was you and that was the plan all along, but if Maty was having an absolute blinder and he was saving things left, right and centre, then it's very hard to extract someone from the game when their confidence is high. That was the only scenario that was kind of bothering me, and that would have been a real challenge. But in my mind, if I really break it down, I just thought that you were, my head was telling me that you were the best one for that particular scenario. And as it turned out, Maty had a quiet game, and it just made our decision a lot easier.
Well, JC asked me to warm up at half time. Normally we just do a bit of passing, bit of Sheva kind of thing, knock a few long balls, and then more of a general kind of physical warm up with Clarkey. But at half time in this game, JC asked Vuka and myself to do a bit of handling, a bit of kind of, I guess, lateral movement, diving, get the eye in, so to speak. It was Sains kind of clicked on about the 80th minute. We were all sitting next to each other on the bench. It went Vuka, myself, and then Sains. And it was about the 80th minute, Sains kind of turned to me and said, wait. Are you coming on if it goes to pens? And I knew that everything was very hush, so I kind of said, I don't know. He said, well, that's why he warmed up with Vuka at half time. I said, maybe. And I know Vuka's very switched on it. He would have been onto it in a flash as soon as anything kind of went down. So, both of us sat there kind of very quiet and just kind of nodded and agreed, I think. So, that's when I think the first kind of players clicked onto it.
And can I say that, Vuka played a really important role because he did a couple of things for me in relation to you on the bench there, and I think he just knows stuff, and I think it's, we know each other very well, and it's a trust thing. I asked him to do a couple of things, and he kind of turned to me and said, we're going to pens, right? It's Redders. And I said, yeah, that's right. And he went, yep, no problem. So he just kind of knew what to do. He knew what I would expect of him in terms of looking after you, because I had a job to look after Maty. And I think he just played his part, right? We needed some footage off one of the one of the players that we didn't have footage from, although we were very well prepared. We didn't have that footage, so he sourced that footage for me and showed you while I was busy doing something else, and he certainly played his part. And I just think that's a, you know, although he didn't take part in the game, he's been very important to us and the group and to the union, and yeah, he certainly played his part.
Yeah, I think that's the key point there is we've been working together for 4 years, but we've known each other for many more, and I think the cohesion we have as the goalkeeping group or the union per se is pretty unique. I think we all know each other very well and our own little quirks and what we enjoy and don't enjoy, and you know, we work extremely well together, I think.
Yeah, it's just a trust thing, right? I think the trust is reciprocated, but you don't have to say too much to you blokes. You know, I know you guys are just going to do your job pretty much. You know what to expect with me, you know the routines, you know just little things, and I just think, you know, Booker just played his part, and I'm really grateful for that, but I wouldn't expect anything less.
Fascinating tactic from Graham Arnold. Double change. I wonder how Maty Ryan goes with that.
You're about to come on here in the with Goody. Matty didn't know about this substitution, and all we wanted him to do was to be focused for the 90 minutes of the game, well, 120 minutes in this case, and I didn't want him to think about anything else but just playing the game. And I think you coming on here, his reaction was fantastic. What did he say to you when he came to the side of the field?
Yeah, this is your moment, this is your time to shine, enjoy it.
I mean, you wouldn't expect anything less from your captain, and he's a pro, and look, it wasn't his decision, it was, you know, it's the coaching staff's decision to make that change, and he took it on the chin, and he was really professional about that, and I thought it was a class act.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, from a goalkeeper point of view, I mean, everyone wants to be the goalkeeper in a penalty, everyone wants to be the hero, but I think it speaks volumes of Matty about how he reacted and how he was to me. It speaks volumes of his professionalism and his just his will to see Australia do well in general and the squad do well in general, because at the end of the day we all share the glory, and you know, we go to a World Cup as a squad and as a nation.
And as you were coming on, I looked at their bench and thought, what must they be thinking? And part of saving a penalty, well, it's all about, I think the penalty is saved before the ball is struck. And I think this was the first part of that process. If the opposition see, you know, you replacing a high-profile player, our captain, someone who's played in Europe, someone who's got profile, and they see this giant of a man coming on, I already think we're winning the game. And I think this was the first blow to the opposition. I truly do.
A few of our boys said after the game, they said, if we saw that, we were already 1-0 down. I think if they saw a goalkeeper come on and so-called, they see him as a better penalty saver, it just would have rattled them. So I know a few of the boys mentioned that to me.
I'm just seeing a bit here, I haven't seen this footage, but we're actually smiling here. It's pretty relaxed. And I know I said to you, when you were warming up behind the bench, I said to you, right, how ready can you be? Like, you got 5 minutes and you put everything on. And you went, yep. And I actually put my head around the back again and said, it's exciting, eh? And you went, yeah. So we were pretty relaxed with that. And I think just this shot here,
you're chuckling.
I'm laughing, and
I'm
you're
smiling.
You're smiling, and
Yeah.
we're going into this, you know, high pressure situation. But what I do think is, like, we'd already spoken about it. on game day. That was our last conversation about it.
Well, you kept saying it. You said all the work's done. You just need to execute. We had the meeting at what was it, 12:30, 12 o'clock. Yep. We got together and decided for each player in their squad which way we're going to dive, and based on the historical kind of map and whatnot. So it was all set in stone. It was just a matter of
and I think it takes the emotion away. It takes the decision out of your hands. We already know exactly whoever is going to step up to the penalty, that we know which way they're going to go. So I guess that's why we're pretty relaxed. I'd like to think that anyway.
You know, at this stage I had the same confidence as Perth.
Okay. Or if this is the moment where I think I say to you, in the summer in here, I said, okay, here's your bottle. And you said to me, don't worry about the bottle.
Yeah.
So the bottle was plan A, but we also had plan B, which was the folder. And the folder we'd used to success previously, so rather than take the bottle, which was exactly the same as the folder in terms of the penalties, Andrew didn't want that, he just wanted the signals. So,
well, it was discussed that if the bottle was found, it would be discarded in a manner.
We had that conversation, didn't we?
Yeah, that was pre-UAE, and we did devise a system to cover up the bottle, but we deemed it to be a little fiddly and whatnot.
So in the event that we lost the bottle, we still had the folder.
Yeah.
But right before these penalties, you said to me, don't worry about the folder, we'll just go to
don't
worry about the bottle, we'll just go to folder.
Yeah.
So I had no problem with that. The signals were going to be clear anyway because it was at your end, and no problem.
And Australia are going to go first, and it's going to be Martin Boyle.
What did you think when Boyley missed his? What were you thinking?
Well, I knew I had at least one save in me, so I wasn't too phased. It was upsetting, but like I said, I feel like I had at least one save in me, so it was on a level pegging. Yeah, it was a great pen, I thought.
It's a good save.
Just a good save, yeah.
But I just remember here, I mean, that just happens in penalty shootouts. I was just thinking about the next one. When you're on here, so Lapadula, we knew that can go anywhere, and in our conversations we decided to go the other way, and that's just what we planned. And
yeah, a lot of these boys had taken a hell of a lot of penalties in their career, and they'd gone left, right, down the middle, every which way. So, I mean, like I said after the game, at the end of the day, it's almost a flip of a coin. It's left or right.
There was almost too much information with Lapadula. He's obviously takes a lot of penalties, as you said, and we just got that one wrong. But we both knew that that's what we decided on, and like we said, you take the emotion out of it, and okay, that didn't go our way, but we just focused on the next one.
I remember saying to the boys, I'll get the ball and I'll walk it to you. Playing a South American nation, I mean, I'm sure they would have thrown the book at you. There would have been all sorts of intimidation and whatnot. So I remember saying to the boys, I'll get the ball and I'll bring it to you, because that can eliminate anything that their goalkeeper could do to try and get in our heads. So one little thing that wouldn't disrupt their process, it's one thing to go through my process, but it's one thing to kind of eliminate the process of the other goalkeeper and try and make it as relaxing and as comforting to our boys, because it's such a nerve-wracking thought about taking a penalty to go to World Cup. So anything I could do to make it easy on them, then I was happy to do.
And this is obviously stepping up to the second one. He's played 120 minutes of football. He hasn't had a lot of football recently, and I think his effort over the whole of this campaign has been extraordinary.
Aaron needs to score this to get Australia level, and he does. Thumps it into the back of the net, no problems.
Yeah, amazing. For someone who hasn't really played, he's 3 games on the trot and 120 minutes. And then a clinical penalty like that, under pressure. Yeah, amazing.
This is the Cayena, the stopper. From memory, we knew where he was going. We decided it was middle.
Middle, yeah.
And I think
when we say middle, we mean
could go anywhere, somewhere down the middle.
Yeah, somewhere down the middle. So we try and be set, try and just react to anything that is either in or around the body. That's probably why just here I'd dive a little late, which was probably a little bemusing to some people, but that's kind of our theory, our kind of style. It was at this point I'd clocked on that their goalkeeper had the bottle system, and I knew it was us or them kind of scenario, so I thought I need to get my hands on that, because I knew that, well, we discussed that if the shoe was on the other foot, they'd be doing the same thing. So,
well, we did discuss this, and it was probably 10 or 12 days out from this game that we would use the bottle, but in the event that we would lose the bottle, or as an example, the opposition goalkeeper was to throw it over into the crowd and we didn't get it back, that we had our notes. So we had plan B if this was, if this eventuated this scenario. So I guess Peru didn't have a plan B.
I picked up his bottle and went to throw it, thinking the construction was something like our bottle, but it was, the paper was just on with an elastic band. So I've had it, obviously the pointy end up, and I've gone to throw it, the bottle's slid out, the paper's then fallen out of my hands but drifted back towards the goal. So
lucky you noticed that, eh?
Yeah, so I had to turn around and go back and pick the paper up. And then I scrunched that up and threw that over the fence too. In hindsight, I probably should have held on to it, because
put it in your mouth and chew on it.
Yeah, because I went back to find it after the game and it wasn't there, so I was thinking he might have jumped the fence and gone and got it. 1%ers. Goody, another great pen. He was one of our most consistent at training. Penalties as well. The reason why he came on.
Subbed on to take the pen, and that's why.
Well, it's going for the roof of the net, and when you first see the trajectory, you're just hoping it's not going to rattle the crossbar. But it's under the crossbar and in, and therefore a great penalty.
Yeah, you see their goalkeeper kind of looking for his bottle. He realises it's gone, and I haven't seen him throw my stuff either. So, I mean, sportsmanship goes both ways, I think, because when I went back to my spot, all my stuff was everywhere as well. I couldn't find my
I think he
my
does
little tub of Vaseline anywhere to be found. So,
in relation to this pen, we were pretty confident he would go to our right, and that's where we went. And I'd like to think that you put him off.
Again, the distractions at Vincula, and Redmayne got a hand to it, and it's off the woodwork.
It's a game of inches, this caper.
Yep.
And did you get a touch?
Didn't get a touch, but I wanted to make it look like I did, to be even more intimidating to the opposition.
Yeah,
I mean,
good call.
Again, it's a game of 1%ers, and if I can make subsequent players push even harder and try and find corners even more and miss the target like that, then my job's done. So yeah, do your job before having to do your job, I guess.
Adrian calmly
Oh,
slots this. No power, just.
And just wrong foots the goalkeeper, and Australia lead for the first time.
He's just nerves of ice, I think. So calm in the moment, and this is just oozes class, doesn't it, that penalty? Calm as you want. The ref wasn't happy with my kind of antics and whatnot. He threatened a yellow card a couple of times for intimidation. Okay. Yeah.
From memory, we didn't have a lot of information on Tapia. I think we had a couple of pens, and he could have gone left or right.
Yep.
We did decide to go right, and you almost got this one.
Yeah, got a hand on it. It's not enough in the end. He's spoken and said that bottle's been thrown, I'm assuming. Yep. I need some signals, because Tapia's now signalling to the bench he needs some singles on which way.
And I didn't know this till after, but I actually thought that he was kind of gloating because he scored against like the Dancing Clown. I thought it was a gloat kind of thing. But I did see this footage and I realised that when they spoke to each other that was the signal to the bench that we haven't got a cheat sheet here and like we're in trouble. So someone sent us some information. Speaking of expert penalty takers, Jamie McLaren steps up to take the fifth.
As reliable as a metronome from the spot. And McLaren sends Galati the wrong way.
And no mistake, obviously.
Clinical. This is when it kind of sunk in for me. The referee said if you save this penalty, you win. You go to the World Cup.
Is it this one or the next one?
Penalty 5. He said if you save this, you win and go to the World Cup. And my heart sank at that moment. But he said, make sure you don't run off because we have to check that your foot didn't come off the line through the video. So this is the boy that we needed footage of at half time, extra time. As we said, Vuka facilitated that for us. And
look, we didn't have a lot of information, but I just wanted you to decide which way we were going to go. And we did, and I marked that in the folder. We made our call.
Yeah, he'd had 3 penalties in his career, 2 to the goalkeeper's left and 1 down the middle. And yeah, he went the ladder.
At this point, I don't know. I'm not looking at the scores, and I didn't know if we were in front or not. I was just trying to focus on, giving you the right signals, and just focusing on you really. Here's you giving the ball to Awa. That really.
Yeah, I remember this as well. Their goalkeeper was starting to coming to intimidate, and I'd been warned for that. So I was saying, get him back on the line because I don't want Awa to be intimidated at all. So I'm saying, making sure that the ref pushes him back straight away.
And Awa is a pretty cool customer when it comes to penalties, and he's a great penalty taker, right? So I think he's held his nerve and his composure really well there.
Another thing I like about Awa is he has his process of walking back from the ball, and their goalkeepers tried to stall a little bit by having a drink, and he's gone back and reset and taken his mind off things. As you can see, standing over the ball, and then once the goalkeeper's in place, he'll restart his process. So yeah, it's a good presence of mind from Awa as well to reset himself like that.
Beautifully tucked away by Awa Mobile. The Kadology did not work, and Australia lead again 5-4.
I remember back in the Perth Grand Final, for some reason we had it in front of the Sydney fans. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I thought that played a massive role in the penalty shootout. So I just wanted to feed off that. I also tried to copy the Peruvian keeper here. I walked out of the goal and tried to delay him as much as possible. I pretended to cough and then walked back in the goal. And I mean, as you can see, unlike Awa, he stood at the top of his run-up, and as we know, too much thinking is a bad thing.
Yeah, and we decided that we were going to go to our right here with Valera, and he's not a classic penalty taker, and in the end, maybe that was the moment.
And Redmayne makes the save. It's a save that means the world to Australia. It's a save that means the World Cup for Australia.
All I remember was celebrating the save. I didn't celebrate the game and qualifying because I was in the moment of the save. But obviously, what were you thinking there? You obviously knew that was the clutch save, huh?
Yeah, it was. I guess part of it was thinking back to what the ref said. They needed to check it to coming off the line, and I remember standing there just wanting to hear the final whistle, but I think with the crowd and the roar and then the players coming over, it would have been impossible to hear it. So I just gauged off their reaction that it must have been done. That's a good angle, that one.
I've never seen that angle because I was celebrating the save. The players have gone in to chase you, I turned around and watched the coaching staff embrace each other. I didn't know what to do. And I've just gone back under the bench and kind of celebrated with myself, and then Dougie came down and then we were both crying. But you had another celebration going on, right?
Oh, yeah. I just find it funny, Aziz came off with cramp because he couldn't run anymore, and then he was the first one to me. Yeah. Surely he could have taken a penalty. Yeah. I don't know, I got asked after the game, describe the feeling of knowing you're going to save it, and it's quite, I guess, surreal, you know, between the strike, picking up the flight of the ball, and then there's that one little instance before it hits your hands, you go, shit, I got this, I'm going to save this. And I just wish you could bottle that, because it's complete silence in your head, it's complete silence in the stadium, everything's blocked out, and it's a bit like any big save, I think. I mean, it's complete silence and complete stillness, I think. But
yeah, and in terms of the process, I mean, you've done that a thousand times more, right? But in terms of the process of saving the penalty, I mean, the simplified version is there's three sides to a pen: left, right, and middle. You go hard early, but you go as late as possible early. That's the simplified version. But I think you and I both know, and I've mentioned it before, that the penalty save is made before the ball is kicked. And it's about you breaking the routine of the taker. And you do anything you have to do to make that happen. And I think you have the temperament that you get that moment. And that's where you just distract the taker. And you can dance, you can turn your back on him, which I know you did at one stage there. You do anything to make that happen. The other thing I'll say is a penalty taker will step up and practice taking a penalty, and you'll always see the goalkeeper in the middle of the goal. But what happens when he sees the dancing wiggle? It completely throws his routine, it completely throws his process, but you're in that moment and you own that's your process, and you know exactly what he's doing.
I mean, it helps as well. I mean, with all the dancing around on the line, I've already got predetermined which way I'm going to dive, so I can manipulate my movements to know that I'm in the middle and going to go a certain way, whether that be a bit of extra momentum or stop and change directions. I know where I'm going, and I think that's the confidence that comes from having a predetermined side as well.
What was that look, mate? What was that? Is that dedicated to Poppy? I've kind of read somewhere that that's the face that you give her and she lights up. Is that?
Well, yeah, on FaceTime, when I do that, her face lights up and you get the big da-da. So yeah, I think it was a bit of that, because, I mean, I spent an hour on FaceTime every day with her in camp. So yeah, subconsciously that probably filtered back through it, but I was just in disbelief again and couldn't believe the moment had kind of come down to that, I guess.
Oh, it still hasn't sunk in for me.
No.
I can't believe it. I mean, that's one moment that's just, been recorded in history, and we all play our part. You're playing the part here, and all our goalkeepers and all our players, coaching staff, everyone has played the part. But I'm just happy and proud that was you in that moment. And
well, yeah, it was the whole union that accumulated in that one moment. And I mean, we spoke about Maty being Maty and how professional he was in the terms of coming off and then supporting me pre-shootout. Yourself putting in the work to study, research, Vuka warming me up at half time, Vuka taking me through footage and whatnot. So, I mean, it's a team game, and I think this moment fully encapsulates the team that is within a team, which is the goalkeeper union. World Cup.
Good boy.